Hello, welcome to my talk. My name is Joseph Mbele. I'm retiring from teaching here at St. Olaf College in Northfield, Minnesota. I've been teaching here in the English department since 1991. That's 35 years. Before that, I taught at the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, and that's my country. So I'm retiring now after 50 years of teaching. I have a YouTube channel. I invite you to check it out. It's a forum in which I address all kinds of issues, culture, education, books, writing, things like that. Welcome to today's talk. It's about one of my books. This one here, Africans and Americans, Embracing Cultural Differences. I published this in the year 2005. After working on it for a very long time as a cultural consultant. Alongside teaching, or in addition to teaching in the classroom, I've been heavily involved as a cultural consultant. I help Americans understand Africans, I help Africans understand Americans, and I go beyond this. I help non-Americans in general to understand Americans. I've shared my ideas with people from Latin America, for example. People who have been reading my books, people who come from other parts of the world. Places like Ecuador, Bangladesh, and so on and so on. I'm quite global in my connections, but again, that's it. So I published this book 2005, and it has attracted the attention of all kinds of people. Thousands of Americans have read it, and many Africans who are here in the USA have read it from all over the continent of Africa. Again, it was published in 2005. And the question I want to address today, a question that has been with me for a few years now, is after so many years, shouldn't I revise this book? That's a topic for today. Should I revise my book? I wrote it at a time when my country, when Africa was at a certain stage, certainly. And now, 2026, that's more than 2 decades after I wrote it. Talking about the cultural realities of that time in Africa and in the USA. And I can say categorically, I depicted the situation as it was then. Now, I read this book and I know culture is not static. Things change. Some of the things in African culture have changed. And I look at the book I read the book, and I'm aware of that. And some things in American culture have also changed. And on a more fundamental level, cultures are not static, they change. So the question, should I revise my book, is quite relevant, and I've been thinking about it. But I've decided not to change, not to revise the book. You might wonder why. And that's what I want to address today. Yeah, things change, things have changed, things are changing. And it makes sense, it seems to make sense that I should want to write, to revise the book. And I'm saying, nope, I'm not. I would prefer to write another book that would reflect the contemporary situation. That's my idea. I would prefer to write another book. If things have changed so drastically, let me show you one of the books I've written after this. Or rather, let me show you the book I've written after this, Chickens in the Bus. It's a sequel. It's a sequel. I published this in 2021. So, it's a sequel. It addresses cultural issues, raises some of the issues that were not raised in the first book, clarifies some things. It's a bit shorter. I would rather write another book, and then after a while, another book. But it takes me many years to write a book. So what do? The problem of cultures changing will still be there. The question is this: if things are changing, should I write a book every year, every month, every 2 years? Should I revise this book? How often should I revise it? Every year, every 2 years, every 5 years, every week? When we raise this question, the whole idea of revising the book seems to be a rather weak one, a questionable one, an impossible one to accomplish. How often should I change? How often should I revise the book? Another question: yes, cultures change, but what exactly in the culture changes? Does it mean everything changes? Are there no core values that persist across time? There are things that don't change easily. They remain for centuries, I would say, maybe longer. They're very durable. There are some things which change rapidly, easily. Some things don't change that easily. So when we talk about cultures changing, what exactly do we mean? The resilience of some traditional values is a reality. People talk about Chinese culture having retained centuries-old practices, core values. And it's not just the Chinese culture, the African culture as well. So recently, I was reading a sentence or sentences by the great poet, Dylan Thomas. This book here, Dylan Thomas, a collection of poems. And he addressed this question of changing, of revising his work. And so he says, I'll quote one sentence, two sentences here. This book contains most of the poems I have written, and all up to the present year that I wish to preserve. And here's the crucial sentence. Some of them I have revised a little. But if I were, let me start again. Some of them I've revised a little. But if I went on revising everything that I now do not like in this book, I should be so busy that I would have no time to try to write new poems. Let me read that sentence. Some of them I have revised a little, but if I went on revising everything that I now do not like in this book, I should be so busy that I would have no time to try to write new poems. Dylan Thomas. I read this just about a week ago, and it really resonated with me. And so I go to my own book. If I chose to do the revisions of this book, I might end up, doing that interminably, indefinitely. And I would have no time to write other books. That's what Dylan Thomas is saying. So I just decided to leave the book as it is, and I would rather work on new projects. That settles that issue. There is another issue. Yes, I'm alive. I could revise this book. I'm alive. I could revise the book. But what if, or what happens, when I'm no longer in this world, when I've passed away? The book will remain what it is. And that's the reality of life. We read books by writers who died already. There are no revisions happening. Things are changing, but we still read what they wrote. And that's going to be the plight of my books. I could revise them when I'm alive. That might please some people. That I've updated the information, I have updated the interpretations, fine. But someday I'll be out of this world, and the book will remain, and people just have to read it. So that's another issue. We shouldn't be too dogmatic about the need for revisions. We shouldn't be. There's another point which is, I think, very important to me. This book told the story of the African culture. This book described the African culture, discussed the African culture as it was at the time when I wrote it. It is an accurate portrayal of the culture. It's a valuable record. Times change, yes, some aspects of the culture change, but this is a monument that deserves to be there, so people can look back, and see what things were like at the time when I wrote the book. That's enough reason to leave the book as it is, as a monument, as a record. Yes, things change, but at the time when I wrote the book, this was the reality. There is historical value in that sense, in the book as it is. Anyway, this might sound rather intellectual, conversations, or arguments. But the reality is this. People are still reading this book. People are still discovering this book, and they are responding to it. They recognize the value. They see the book as a revelation. They use phrases like eye-opening. In fact, in the last week alone, I've read on Facebook testimonies by 2 African Americans who are in Africa. One in Arusha, Tanzania, northern Tanzania, and the other one, I think, is in Ghana. They've just read the book in the last several years, I would say, and the other one maybe just a few days ago. And they all rave about it, how it opened things for them being in Africa, and how they recommend this book to other people. And one of them actually says, reading this book, they discovered, the story behind what they have been experiencing in Africa, and that they have discovered the secret of the cultural challenges. And this person says they've learned from reading this book that culture is something deeper, and cultural adjustment is something deeper than mere logistics. I like that phrase, deeper than mere logistics. And indeed, a lot of guidebooks, a lot of presentations and workshops tell people, we will teach you, how the banks work in this country. We'll teach you how you register a business. We'll teach you how to buy land, those kinds of things. We'll teach you how the laws work in this country, in this African country. These are logistics. But my writing has to do with how you deal with people. Yes, you have settled in Africa as an African American, for example. I'm telling you how you interact with that person in the marketplace, selling chickens. You employ somebody to build that house. How do you interact with the workers? What are their values? What are the work habits? What are their expectations? How do they perceive you? How do you communicate with them? Do they understand, what you say when you communicate? How do you avoid offending people? These are very crucial in my view. It's not a matter of logistics, it's not a matter of things out there, it's a matter of dealing with human beings. Africans themselves, when they read this book, the ones who are still, discovering the book, they are overjoyed, because again, the book manages to strike a chord in their hearts. It's a revelation. They get to know the real story behind what we do as Africans, and Americans get to know the real story behind what they do as Americans, and they are surprised that what they do, what they take for granted, or what they don't even think about, could have this kind of meaning to somebody from another culture. So I don't see the reason to revise this book. I would rather write another book. And as long as this book is serving its purpose, as long as people really resonate with it, I will leave it as it is. There are still many people who have not read this particular book the way it is. And in fact, on another level, I must say, I don't think I would be able to write this book the way I wrote it. The humor, for example, everybody who reads this book notes, the humor in it, and how engaging it is to read it. I like that. They find it irresistible. So I don't like to spoil that. I really doubt if I'll ever be able to write a book that feels like this, that's as enjoyable as this, that is as exciting to read as this. I don't think I'll be able to write another book like that. I don't think so. So I don't want to spoil the fun. I'll leave it as it is. Anyway, thanks for listening, and feel free to visit my YouTube channel. I speak very informally, as you can see. I don't think I need to be very formal in giving my talks on this channel. There are times when I just want to express my joy about something, my anxiety, questions I have. I don't think I have always to be very, very prepared. No, I don't think so. I want to be myself, and I'm not hesitating, to come out here and talk like I did today. Below this video, you'll see some links to this book. It's published online at www.lulu.com. Go to the bottom of this video. You'll see that link, and I will post also reviews of the book that people have shared. Yes, there'll be links there. You can follow, comments by readers, recommendations by readers. So welcome to my channel again, and I'll stop here for today. Have a good day or a good night wherever you are. Bye.